Hey there, welcome to this exercise where I'm going to demonstrate a barbell hip thrust. So again, this is an exercise where I see people just not lifting heavy enough. If you want to use this exercise effectively to build the glutes, it is an incredible exercise for really adding size and strength, but you must go heavy. In my top and final set for 8 to 10 reps, I would thrust about 300 kilos, which is 660 pounds. I'm not saying that you should be doing that, but you should be aiming to thrust heavy. My warm-up set is usually about 140 kilos, which is about 300 pounds. So it's really important when you're doing this exercise that you do it safely. The first rep is extremely important in order to give you confidence and strength during the exercise. So let me show you how to perform it safely and effectively. You want to start with a bench. And the bench should be, when you're seated on the ground, it should come to just below your shoulder blades. If the bench is too high and it comes higher than your shoulder blades, you're going to have to get a lower bench. Whenever you come up into position with the barbell, you should be able to position your body so that the bench is just below your shoulder blades. Your chin is going to be slightly in towards your chest with your gaze at a 45-degree angle. You do not want to have your chin back here, and you don't want to have it forced in towards your chest. So your chin should be slightly tucked to keep the whole front of your body engaged. One of the mistakes I see people making in this exercise when they thrust the bar is they do this. And their whole body rocks. This is not a body rocking exercise. Your upper body never moves. Your shoulders never move, only your hips thrust. So watch, the bar is here, you're literally thrusting your hips. Do you see the difference? The only thing that's moving here are my hips are thrusting. It's not a body rock. Your upper body is not moving, your upper body stays completely steady and only your hips thrust. The most important part of the exercise is the stretch and the lockout at the top. You want to get that squeeze into the glutes. Many people are quad dominant, and so whenever they perform this exercise, they use their quads and their hip flexors to lift. You don't want to do this. You want to squeeze the glutes like crazy. Another really important part of the exercise is to make sure you have an Olympic bar with plates that are big enough so that you can roll it up and over your thighs. If you can't roll the bar up and over your thighs and you're trying to wiggle it on, it's not going to work because you have to be able to get the bar over your thighs. You also need to get hold of one of these pads, which is going to protect your hips. If you don't have one of these super big thick pads, which you can pick up on Amazon, then you're not going to be able to do this exercise. Okay, so to begin the exercise effectively, you roll the bar back and make sure that the center silver bit is right in the center of your hips. Make sure that the pad is secure with obviously the opening facing up. And then you're simply going to wiggle your legs back with your feet about hip distance apart. You want to make sure your feet are hip distance apart and that your toes, they can be facing slightly out if you like, but I like to keep mine nice and facing forward. You don't want to have your stance too long. If you have your stance too long, you're not going to be able to push up effectively. Your feet have to be back. Now, this is quite simply the most important part of the exercise. If you fail to get this part correctly, or to get this part right, you will never be able to perform the exercise correctly or heavily. So listen carefully. Before you thrust up, you must activate your transverse abdominus. If you activate your transverse abdominus, you will protect your lower back. The first rep is the most important. How do you activate your transverse abdominus? Well, you take 3 breaths, which I'm going to demonstrate to you now. On the final breath, you inhale sharply and you suck up your transverse abdominus. You have to imagine, and everybody always laughs when I tell them this, but you have to imagine that you are sucking a smoothie through a straw using your vagina. And if you do that, you will turn on your transverse abdominus. So you take an inhale and you suck that smoothie through the straw, and then as you thrust up, you exhale sharply. As you exhale sharply, it sucks your navel to your spine and it pulls it up and locks it in and protects the lower back. So watch. So I like to take 3 big breaths. I inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now I'm going to inhale and suck my smoothie through the straw, and then I'm going to forcibly exhale as I thrust. Inhale, exhale. You have to make that noise. If you don't make that noise as you thrust, you're not going to turn on your transverse abdominis. Listen again. Inhale, suck. Exhale through the teeth. Hold it at the top to make sure that you're in a nice secure position. Then you're going to inhale, lower, exhale, thrust. Inhale, lower, exhale, thrust. Look how my upper body never moves. Thrust, 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 thrust. I like to do short, sharp reps. I know some people like to set the bar down in between if they really are going for hypertrophy, which is muscle growth. So they would set it down and then they would up again and then set it down. That's totally okay if you want to work on hypertrophy, but for the all intents and purposes of building strength in this exercise, you want to thrust up, exhale, hold, and then thrust, 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 thrust. Look how my upper body never moves. And then when you're ready, set the bar down, roll it away, and rest.